believe it or not, there is a bug in this picture. And no, it's not just a microscopic gnat or something. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bug of the Week. As always, if you are new here, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and leaving a comment down below. It really helps us out. And if you are new here, we are going through a series where we talk about all of the insect orders. We are about halfway through all of them, but this week we have arrived at the Phasmatodea, also known as the stick insects and leaf insects. As you can tell, I am a longtime fan of this order. Stick insects and leaf insects are very near and dear to my heart because I've had them as pets, I've found them in the wild, I've put them in my collection, and they are just very charismatic and lovable as a whole. Aside from them just looking really cool, Phasmatodea is actually a very interesting order in many other ways, from their behavior to their lifestyle to their courtship behaviors. They're just really cool bugs, so we're going to talk about them today, and I hope you all enjoy it. So first, let's get some of the general information out of the way. Phasmatodea is made up of 7 families and about 3,600 species worldwide, and the diversity and crazy different morphologies, colors, and adaptations of this order is incredible. As with all of the insects in this series so far, stick insects and leaf insects are hemimetabolous, meaning they have a 3-stage incomplete metamorphosis going from egg to nymph to adult. Nothing crazy there, but basically when they're born, they look like little tiny versions of the adults. Not a larval stage, but a nymph stage. Some physical identifying features of a phasmid. Yes, it's phasmid, not phasmatodian, which is kind of confusing, but that's how it is. But yeah, some identifying features of phasmids are long, slender, thread-like, or bead-like antennae. They have mouth parts that are mandibulous and prognathous, meaning that they point forward instead of down. They typically have a long, cylindrical body, hence stick insect. So I think that's kind of weird, is their prothorax is shorter than their meso or metathorax. So quick little anatomy time for insects. All insects are made up of 3 main body segments: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The thorax itself is made up of several subsections called the prothorax, the mesothorax, and the metathorax. And so with the phasmids, their prothorax is always shorter than their mesothorax or their metathorax. So that's something. Their leg segments are long and slender. They have 5 segmented tarsi, which are the little hands of insects, basically. Their wings are often reduced or absent, especially in the females, and they have short, unsegmented cerci. So the cerci of the phasmids are just little nubbins. They're not really anything. Okay, so the majority of phasmids are exclusively in tropical and subtropical regions, although there are some species that go up into the temperate zones, up into the US, so you can really find them all over the place, but if you're in a tropical zone, you're definitely more likely to come across them. So there are 2 major families that I want to talk about today. I know earlier I said there was 7, but there are 2 major families that we talk about, that we mostly think about when we're talking about phasmids, and that's the Phasmatidae, which are the walking sticks, and then there's the Timemidae, which are the leaf insects. I know it's a shocker, but they mimic sticks and twigs and leaves and foliage, respectively. And as you can probably guess, Phasmatodea comes from the Greek phasm, meaning phantom, which refers to the cryptic appearance and behavior of these insects. But yeah, they are shockingly good at this behavior. And in nature, there are kind of 2 strategies, and that would be crypsis, which is what stick insects do, and there's aposematism. I know that's a big word, and we've talked about it a little bit in the past, but basically we see most insects go in one of 2 directions. There's crypsis, where they blend in and aren't seen at all, or there's aposematism, which is having bright colors that warn their predators to stay away. So we talked about this a little bit in the Orthoptera video, where I was talking about some katydids that do this. There are some katydids that are really good at blending in, and some katydids and grasshoppers that are really good at scaring their predators away with bright colors. And you see that again in phasmids. There are some phasmids that are, almost impossible to see if they're hiding in a good vegetation. But there are some phasmids that take the opposite approach, and they're actually brightly colored, like this blue one. So as you can see, phasmids are a great example of both of those strategies that we see in insects. And the crazy thing is it doesn't just stop at their appearances, it even continues into their behavior. To further sell this cryptic disguise, stick insects and leaf insects will often do this kind of dance walk that you see a lot. And they will kind of dance and kind of bob with the wind. To further sell the idea of sticks and foliage blowing around in the wind, they will mimic that behavior. It is so cool and really awesome to see, and this continues throughout the life cycle of the phasmids. Stick insect and leaf insect eggs actually mimic the seeds of the host plant that they're trying to disguise as. So if they're disguising as a certain plant, their eggs will often look like the seed pods from that plant. I mean, it goes deep. Like, it is crazy. Like, this, don't tell me that this is an egg. This is a seed, absolutely. So continuing with that, stick and leaf insects are actually completely herbivorous. They feed on the leaves of the host plant that they live on. Some of them are generalist, some of them are more specific toward a specific host plant, but they will just chow down. I mean, I've seen an adult stick insect eat an entire leaf in a matter of minutes. I mean, it's quite impressive, and they do it in a line motion like a caterpillar would. Doesn't this make them kind of cannibal? I mean, if it looks like a leaf and it's eating another leaf, is that not kind of like... This is so crazy that in the tropics, some species have been known to defoliate entire forest trees and cause significant economic damage. I mean, it's pretty incredible. But other than that, they're not really a pest. They don't really cause any other issues. Because of stick insects' gregarious nature, they're actually very popular pets. And I would say they're actually really good pets. I kept them for years. They were always very fun, fast growing. It was cool to watch them molt. They would shed their skin and then eat their old skin, which was always fun to watch. And they are actually the only insect that is able to regrow limbs. So if a stick insect loses a limb for whatever reason, which can also be a defense strategy, they will regenerate that limb in the next molt. Now, that first molt after that, it'll come back a little smaller, but the molt after next, it will be indistinguishable from its other limbs. So very, very cool. And another defense strategy is that there are some phasmids that have glands located on the thorax, and they can produce a foul-smelling liquid or acid kind of material that will irritate predators. So yeah, I love phasmids. I've got many in my collection. This is the biggest one I have. Believe it or not, they get even bigger. Yes, that's right. There is a stick insect that holds the record for the longest insect. It's called Phasmatodea zao, which can grow over 2 feet long. Yes, that's like a man's forearm. That's nuts. And it looks just like a big stick. And the crazy thing is that one was bred in captivity, and it's in a museum. So that is the longest described specimen. The exact measurement is 24.6 inches long, or 624 millimeters. But who knows, because there could be one out in the wild that's even bigger. That's just the biggest documented specimen so far. Crazy to think about. And aside from the limb regeneration, phasmids have such a cool superpower that I cannot wait to talk about, because it's one of the coolest things in the insect world. That is called Parthenogenesis. Okay, so I know you might have heard of this term before, but Parthenogenesis is the ability for an organism that is otherwise sexually reproducing to decide to clone itself and reproduce without egg fertilization. Meaning that female stick insects can essentially clone themselves, and they don't need to mate. I actually witnessed this firsthand. I had some pet stick insects. They were adults, and they started laying eggs, and there were no males, and I had a bunch of little baby stick insects on my hands, and it was super fun and really exciting. In some species, this is so extreme that males are uncommon and maybe even unknown. Like, they haven't found any males of certain species, which is really cool to think about. Parthenogenesis, it's not exclusive to the stick insects, but it's just my favorite example of it because it's pretty widespread in this order. Like, a bunch of them do it. But yeah, a lot of other animals do it. There are even some reptiles that can do it. There are many other insects that can do it. It's just a really cool thing. But you might be wondering, like, why don't more things do that? I mean, that sounds really great, just being able to clone yourself. And there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't exist in a lot of things, and the main one being that there's no genetic diversity, right? So the female clones herself, they are all genetic copies of her. So now if a disease were to come through and she would be susceptible to it, all of the clones of her would be equally susceptible to it. And so that's how you wipe out an entire population, is if they are all genetically identical, there is no difference or strength and weakness between them. And so one disease could just wipe out an entire species. So that's why it's kind of problematic. There are many other reasons, but that's just one of the big ones. But a big benefit is that if there are no males around, and there are no ways to go find males, like having wings, you can just pop out some little mini clones of yourself. So yeah, I think stick insects do it pretty well because they still have the ability to mate with a male, keep that genetic flow going. But if they are in a pinch, they can keep their genes going. Pretty cool. Anyways, stick insects, leaf insects, the phasmids are super cool. With that, I hope you all enjoyed learning about them. I really enjoyed making this video for all of you. If you did, definitely leave a like down below, subscribe, and leave a comment on maybe your favorite fun fact or experience with phasmid. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week, where we are talking about Phasmatodea, also known as the praying mantises. Definitely one to stick around for. But with that, I will see you all next week. But until then, keep on bugging. See ya.